I think it's a big gamble from Watford.
The fact that he's showing that he can do it at an international level in South America with Chile, I think, there'll be a long line of suitors.
Hopefully that loss to Bournemouth won't affect them too much, because that's been my concern, whether that loss to Bournemouth, missing out on automatic promotion, will have an effect on morale.
I don't think Forest are in as healthy a position as Huddersfield. As a buying club, I wouldn't pay over £20 million for him.
It's not about what all the clubs would pay for him. It's what he's worth to Fulham, isn't it?
They got through the semi-finals through a penalty shootout and into the final, and they won the final via a penalty shootout. They scored 1 goal. It's just absolutely bizarre the way they did it.
Yeah, they proper S-housed that playoff campaign, didn't they? And pretty much the whole season, actually. They got absolutely obliterated by Derby in that playoff final. It was the most one-sided playoff final anyone has ever seen. And then up pops Bobby Zamora.
So fair play, Gary O'Neill. Yeah, never mind. We carry on.
Dear me, what a sad little life, Gary. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Stopwatch. It's the topical championship show with a little twist. It's 5 topics, a 2-minute timer, and 2 hosts. We're Ryan and Justin from the Second Tier Podcast. Let's get right into it. So, Justin, with Rob Edwards appointed as Watford's new boss, what's your reaction to the news? And do you think the Hornets will be promotion contenders next season?
Yeah, it's one of great intrigue. I think appointing a League Two manager is always a risk, but I think with how Rob Edwards set his teams up, a very good high pressing style of play that was effective, that utilises wing backs, which is something that Watford have done to great success in the past. I think it is a good appointment. Will they be promotion contenders next season? I'm not sure. I'd like to think they would be, but I think there's a lot of surgery that still needs to be done to the squad as well.
I think it's a big gamble from Watford, because you have got to keep taking into account that this season has been Rob Edwards' first season in charge of a senior side. And to make that second season the task of getting them back into the Premier League at the first time of asking, that's a big risk from a Watford perspective. I'm all for appointing young managers who have, grind their teeth at a lower level, but because it's only going to be a second season, and the Pozzos are notoriously not very patient if things are going wrong, I'm not really sure what to make of this one. Will they be promotion contenders next season? I'd side with yes, just because we've seen with parachute payment teams very recently that they are seemingly always in contention with the odd anomaly. But I'm not really sure what to make of the appointment, Justin.
Yeah, as I say, it's a difficult one, but I think with how he wants to play and how he wants to set his teams up, they excelled in their pressing stats in League Two last season. Yeah, it is a gamble, but I think sometimes you've got to give these managers a chance to get going. We've seen it with Barnes with Asbargi, didn't work. Morrison at Cardiff, still up in the air at the moment, but they've got to go down this route because they need a change.
Yeah, I'd say I won't be surprised if it went by the wayside, but at the same time, I won't be surprised if it worked out. Not really sure. Justin, what's next topic?
One side switching places with them is Fulham and a certain Aleksandar Mitrovic. After his record-breaking season, how much do you think he's worth?
Well, when it comes to worth, I always take into account how much a player is worth to their team. And if I was in a Fulham perspective, I wouldn't sell him for anything less than 50 million, I don't think, just because they've got a player there who is their most talented player. And why would you get rid of someone who's your most talented player for anything less than 50 million? Fulham have got enough money to, they're not exactly, on the ground looking for change, are they? Not on the ground looking for pennies. So why would they sell him for anything less than 50 million? So I think at least 50 million, you could make the argument that he's worth even more from a Fulham perspective.
Well, yeah, when you argue it like that, he's priceless, isn't he, to Fulham? But I think in today's market, I as a buying club, I wouldn't pay over £20 million for him.
It's not about what all the clubs would pay for him. It's what he's worth to Fulham, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm trying to argue the other side of the coin. It's what I would pay as an opposition manager or chairman, whatever opposition club, is what I would go in with a bid for. And £50 million, I'd be surprised if Fulham wouldn't sell him for £15 million, because that could get a couple of other players that can easily prop up goal-wise and more. But from my perspective, I wouldn't pay over 20, 25 million pounds just because of his. He's not an Ollie Watkins where he can play all across the front three. He's got a very strict way of playing, or he has evolved it slightly this season, coming in deeper. But I think there's more to his game that he needs to show, especially in the Premier League, to justify that sort of price tag, paying wise.
You'd be getting double-figure goals from him, though, Justin, if he plays
True.
every game.
But for £50 million?
But that's what I say. It's about what Fulham would sell him for, not how much other clubs would pay for him. Moving on. Of all the sides who missed out on reaching the playoffs, Justin, which player do you think is most likely to be a Premier League player next season?
Yep, it's a very debatable one, but I think one that springs to mind is John Swift. And the reason why I think it is John Swift is because of his assist record and his creative abilities in a side that has been struggling all season. If you look at previous links, he nearly went to Sheffield United a couple of seasons ago, and God knows they could have done with him because their ability to put chances away and create chances really struggled. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to, especially in the lower half of the table, I wouldn't be surprised to see him prop up there because there'll be teams that will pay his wages, and he can certainly do a job at the top level and probably deserves his chance, especially after this season.
He's someone I've always thought deserves a shot at the Premier League because I think he'd fit in there. He wouldn't be as effective as he has been in the Championship, but I think he could definitely serve a Premier League side very well in their midfield. I'm going for an obvious one, Justin. I'm going for Ben Brereton Diaz of Blackburn. The reason being is because, well, his contract situation for a start, he's just had that extended by an extra year because he's got one of those clauses, which means Blackburn can do that whenever they want. But I think they're thinking to themselves, we can get a fair bit of money here because he's only got 1 year left. This is their last chance to sell him and make a bit of a profit on him. And after the season that he's had, I think clubs will be having a look at him thinking they can get a decent deal for this guy. Obviously, second half of the season not been as effective due to injuries and a loss of form in general. But he showed in that first half of the season how good he can be. He was keeping up with Aleksandar Mitrovic for crying out loud, which is by it's not a mean feat, is it? So he's shown there what he can do, and if he gets a good supply, gets his confidence back, he'll be a very good player at Premier League level. So that's why I think clubs will be having a sniff around him. Justin, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's the Premier League or a top division elsewhere, there'll be clubs interested in him. I mean, he's shown the fact that he's shown that he can do it at an international level in South America with Chile. I think, there'll be a long line of suitors knocking on the door at Ewood Park for his signature.
Absolutely. Justin, what's next topic?
So looking ahead to the playoffs, which side do you think is in the healthiest position?
I'm going Forest. I think they're the favourites just because of their winning streak that they've maintained over the past 10, 11 games. Obviously, there was the loss to Bournemouth, but apart from that, it was a completely flawless record pretty much. And they were absolutely flying. They've gone into this with their tails up, and hopefully that loss to Bournemouth won't affect them too much because that's been my concern, whether that loss to Bournemouth, missing out on automatic promotion, will have an effect on morale, but hopefully it won't, and these boys will be the ones who will be there full of confidence heading into the playoffs. Would you agree, Justin?
I will disagree. I don't think Forest are in as healthy a position as Huddersfield. Now Huddersfield have got almost a full squad to choose from. I know Sorba Thomas may be ruled out with the first leg, especially. They go into the playoffs as the form team as well. I know Forest have that win record, but over the last 6 games, especially, Huddersfield are the form team. And in addition to that, you mentioned Forest possibly being impacted by Bournemouth. They've also got to get past Sheffield United, who look like a different side at the moment, especially over the last 2 or 3 games. They looked a completely different side to the one we saw earlier on the season. They put 4 past Fulham, which even if they were playing after a few heavy nights after celebrating promotion, it's still very, very good thing to have in your lock. And obviously, for me, it's got to be Huddersfield.
Finally, Justin, second tier retro time with Bournemouth coming under fire this week. Who do you think is the most fortunate side to win promotion in Championship history? Very keen to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, it's tin hat time. But staying on the Huddersfield note, I'm going to say Huddersfield and their playoff win. A historic win nonetheless, and one that was absolutely massive for the club and the town. But the way they got through to the Premier League was absolutely incredible. Not only was, they enjoyed a very good season. They were well worth a playoff finish, but they ended the season on, I think it was -3 goal difference, which is absolutely incredible and bizarre. And as well as that, they got through the playoffs and obviously won promotion via penalty shootouts. They got through the semi-finals through a penalty shootout and into the final, and they won the final via a penalty shootout. They scored 1 goal. It's just absolutely bizarre the way they did it, but they did it, and that's the main thing. But absolutely incredible, and perhaps a little bit fortunate that the penalty shootouts went in their favour.
Yeah, they proper S-housed that playoff campaign, didn't they? And pretty much the whole season, actually. It was a remarkable achievement for them to actually get promoted that season. I'm going to go for the QPR side of the 2013-14 season. And that is partly because of how they did in the playoffs, but also because of their regular season form. They ended the season with just 7 wins from their last 16, which is very hit and miss for the final few games of the season, because they lost a lot of those games in that time as well. But when you look at the team that they had as well, I mean, just in this team, how did this team not get automatically promoted? They had Nader Manua, they had the likes of Rob Green in goal, they had Benmo, I can't even say his name, Benmo Esu Ikoto, Jermaine Genius, Joey Barton, Nico Crankjar, bloody hell, so many players. Ravel Morrison, Sean Wright Phillips, Bobby Zamora, of course, Charlie Austin. I could go on forever about the number of players they had in that team. And then, of course, the cherry on top of the cake here is them actually winning promotion. They got absolutely obliterated by Derby in that playoff final. It was the most one-sided playoff final anyone has ever seen. And then up pops Bobby Zamora to crush Derby Hearts with, I think, what was their only shot on target in the whole game. It was ridiculous how they managed to get up, and of course they did it. Fair play to him, but it's got to be said that it was fortunate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Don't need reminding. Gary O'Neill changed the game. His sending off while Johnny Russell was through on goal was the best decision I think anyone's ever made in the world of football. So fair play, Gary O'Neill. Yeah, never mind. We carry on.
Dear me, what a sad little life, Gary. And there we go. Episode 33 of the Stopwatch. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Drop us a like if you've enjoyed. And please subscribe for more content like this. We've been the Second Tier Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Second Tier Pod. I'm Ryan Dilkswan. That's Justin Peach 27 over there. We'll be back very soon. And thank you for watching.